You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Linda, where are you? Anyway, we were talking about stinky hippos. Why are the adults always saying, "Oh, raspberries"? Thank you loads to KitKat54 for that amazing intro, though I am sad to say that Linda hasn't updated me on her whereabouts since I just asked her 2 seconds ago. So typical, really. Maybe I didn't give her enough time. That was only 2 seconds. Linda, where are you, Linda? No, still nothing. Useless. But yes, KitKat, I probably was talking about stinky hippos, as the fact is, I still have loads of storage problems as to where to put all of them. They're currently filling up the fridge, the bath, the toilet, the cupboard, the sock drawer, the neighbour's garden, the neighbour's vase, the neighbour's cat. The neighbour's very annoyed with me right now, and my butter dish. They're all just full of stinky hippos, and frankly, it is getting annoying, even though you're not sending them in so much anymore, so thank you for that. Is it safe to put stinky hippos outside? Will that air out the stinkiness, or will it make them more stinky? Very tricky. Hello, and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast for all ages from 2 and everything in between. I'm Tiernan, and that is a very good question from KitKat right away, so thank you for that. Why are the adults always saying, "Oh, raspberries"? I just did it just then, didn't I? I just said, "Oh, raspberries." Oh, I've said it again. Oh, raspberries. It's actually very hard to stop saying, "Oh, raspberries," once you've started saying, "Oh, raspberries," which might be part of the problem. Oh, raspberries. Why do people call this a raspberry? Like, why do you call that a raspberry? Have you ever picked a raspberry that sounded like that? I'm not sure I'd eat it if there was a raspberry in a bowl of fruit just going I'd be very worried about it indeed. I'm not sure that'd be safe to eat. It's actually called blowing raspberries, if you go So I wonder if we've been getting raspberries all wrong all along by eating them. Actually, maybe they are sophisticated musical instruments that you should play a bit like a flute. Raspberries. Have I got any raspberries here at Comedy Club for Kids HQ? Otherwise, I'd go and give it a try. Let me just have a check of the fridge. No, sorry, I forgot the fridge is full of stinky hippos. Sorry. So where would I have put the raspberries if stinky hippos are in the fridge? Let me see. Bread is in the dustbin. The bin is in the bread bin. Oh, yeah, that's right. Here they are in the trouser press. So, right, let me give this a go and try blowing a raspberry, or I suppose playing it a bit like a flute rather than a fruit. Oh, wow, well, this is exciting. I need to tell the world about this. We could have entire raspberry orchestras playing the most beautiful sounds that all start with a Everyone in the world could have an instrument as they just pick it off a raspberry bush and then play. I must tell my friend Phil Harmonic. Let me call him. Hang on a second. This is Phil Harmonic. I'm not in right now, so please leave me a message after these lovely sounds. Phil, it's Tiernan. I've just discovered raspberries are an instrument. Call me when you get this. We need to chat about writing a big orchestral piece called Oh, Raspberries. Oh, raspberries. I've said it again. Oh, raspberries. Oh, well, that's a shame Phil wasn't in, but hopefully he will call back really soon. In the meantime, or rather not mean and actually very nice time, I wanted to say a big, giant, humongous thank you to all of you who came along to our first ever Radio Nonsense live show last week that we did at the South Bank Centre in London. We had a sold out show, which was amazing. I can't believe how many of you came along, and most of you that came were podcast listeners, but there were some of you who'd never heard of this very sensible, very serious show, and so very big thank you to you too. If you're one of those and you're now tuning in for the first first time to this not live one. We had around, I think, 40 minutes of questions that were only about farts, because obviously it's a very important subject, and they were expertly answered by Athena Kugblenu and Jos Norris. And then we had one non-fart question from Kian, which, thank you, Kian, we were all very grateful for that at the end. Thank you also to all the staff at the South Bank Centre who helped put the show on. And if you didn't get to come along, don't worry, we have recorded it, and so I will be putting it out as a bonus podcast at some point in the future. How far in the future? Maybe when there's robots. I don't know. And I don't know, maybe we will do another one at some point. So if you came along and enjoyed it, let me know what you thought, which you can do by asking your fusty goofus palookas, I'm sorry, grown-ups, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. You can, of course, also email in with any question you need answering, any intros or outros you'd like me to say on this show, any made-up jokes you need reading out, or, well, just anything you like. And don't forget to check out all of our Comedy Club for Kids live shows when they're near you, which you can find out by looking at comedyclub4kids.co.uk, and you can grab all of our t-shirts and books from comedyclubforkids.store. Right, I guess I'd better just wait here and practice playing this here raspberry. And then when Phil calls back, we can get our orchestra together. Right, while I do that, you need to listen to this most importantest bit.
Tell him this.
On this week's show, I am delighted to be joined by Thom Tuck, making his return to the podcast. Thom Tuck, a.k.a. Thomasina Tuckington Frazzle Saltbin the Quazeth, Tom the Baker's Mum, or as all our Mapuche-speaking listeners will, of course, know you, Quelan Chan. But, of course, you are most well known for your acclaimed research into the middle names of trees, for your undefeated record as the nation's most graceful sneezer, and, of course, very famously, for your 2015 hit single, Who Put the Mushrooms in My Sandwich. Tom, it's so lovely to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Oh, that was
sorry.
That was just delightful.
I just thought I'd let one out there for the fans.
It's lovely. I mean, you know, I'm honoured that you do this on the show because obviously people pay quite a lot to hear you sneeze so gracefully. You teach etiquette lessons in it. You're renowned for your technique, and thank you for giving us one on the show. I didn't want to ask you for it. That would have felt a bit rude, but
well, if you'd asked, I would have said no. But can I point out to all your listeners that you can actually buy my branded handkerchiefs now as well?
Oh my goodness, that's amazing! I haven't seen these, so can you tell me about them? Have they got your initials on, or have you put lovely slogans on, or
they're tie-dyed and they say "bless you" at the bottom.
Ah, that is lovely. And do you think having one of these handkerchiefs would help listeners achieve a more graceful sneeze, or is that still a technique they'd need to learn?
Well, the "bless you" is written very, 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 very small down in one corner. You see, and that's just to remind you not to sneeze too big.
Lovely. Yes, that's true. And I suppose with sneezes of your size, that handkerchief could last quite a long. It could last for quite a lot of sneezes because obviously you do big sneezes. You're wiping out a handkerchief each go.
Yes, I would say you wouldn't need to clean the hanky for 2 or 3 years.
Wow, that's very economical, and and I think also hugely environmentally friendly. People when they have a cold can get through a whole box of tissues in a couple of days just sneezing away, and here you've got your one hanky 2 to 3 years just gradually building up with sort of snot.
Yes, just tiny little bits of snot, little flecks as we call them in biz.
Yes, it's wonderful, and I don't mean to intrude because I'm sure that this is something that you probably again people have to pay for that sort of information. But you're very, very graceful with your sneezes. Never hear anything about your burps. Are you graceful with things like burps, farts as well, or are those a completely different sort of game?
Well, the latter farts I never do.
Right.
I keep a cork up there.
Right, sure, that makes sense.
Yes, and I'm actually medically incapable of burping.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So wow. I mean, there's actual no disincentive to drinking fizzy drinks.
Yes, I was going. What happens if you do drink a fizzy drink? Do you just sort of gradually inflate, or?
Yes. Yeah. I expand to such a point, and then bubbles come out of my skin.
Wow. I mean, not nice for you, but it must be phenomenal to see for a sort of passerby.
Well, honestly, if I'm swimming, it looks amazing.
Yes. I mean, I'd have thought quite the party trick if you were to go to a pool party. Do that, get out, do a graceful sneeze, and everyone's just in awe.
Yes, I just load up on Dr. Pepper, and it's as if it was a soda stream.
Wow, wow. I mean, those are some phenomenal skills, some absolutely phenomenal skills. Well, I mean, listen, Tom, it's so lovely to have you back on the show. And how have you been aside from your incredible graceful sneezing empire and obviously the not burping? Have you been well?
Yes, very well, very well. I got a new shoulder.
Oh, lovely. That's nice. Is that was the old one not working properly, or you just fancied a
It
change?
was just a bit boring, so I've got one made of
Sure.
a plasticine.
Oh wow, that must be great. Is it very has it plasticine that's been left out for a while, so it's hard, or is it still squishy, quite fresh plasticine?
I just keep molding it into different shapes. You see, so
Lovely.
if have a look there, see, yeah,
Oh.
and that's now a little mouse, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, that is delightful. That is delightful. And I think it particularly goes with your sort of off the shoulder dress, which I assume you wear because of the shoulder.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Yes,
Yes.
I mean, I could go with a vest, but I thought the dress was more in keeping with my public persona.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's lovely. You look amazing, and I mean, have you? Because obviously the shoulder is plasticine for your enjoyment, and I can see that clearly it's very lovely. You can just make a mouse on the top of your arm like that. But do you ever go and say prank someone who's giving a massage? Do you ever go? I'd like a shoulder massage, please. And next thing they know, they've made a little ice cream stand.
Well, I did try that, and what happened is they went in for a full squeeze of the shoulders and actually removed part of the plasticine.
Oh, oh no.
So I did have to go to plastic hospital.
Wow, and that's wow, is that plastic surgery that you need for that?
Plasticine surgery, yes.
Plasticine surgery. Yes, yes. That sounds quite serious.
Well, it just requires quite a warming up of the part that has come loose.
Hmm.
You need to warm it up and then gently add it back on.
Wow. Wow. So, I
And
mean,
of course, I had to be under full anaesthetic for that, so I didn't even get to see it.
yes, of course. Of course you didn't get to see the master molders at work, which would have been quite something, I'd assume. I mean, it sounds, obviously that is quite an issue and it sounds traumatic, but overall, I mean, it looks fantastic. And would you consider having the other shoulder done as well?
Yes, but probably not plasticine. Probably not plasticine. I'd go with
Right.
something, to give a contrast.
Right.
Maybe aluminium foil.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that sounds lovely. Lego perhaps, would that work?
Oh, yes, yes, that's yes, yes. Oh, now you've made me think. I could have a castle.
Yes, you can have a little castle on your shoulder, or every other day a submarine, or the Death Star, or something like it's very variable.
Spaceship.
Yes, I mean, I just think that you're bringing in a really nice amount of variety to shoulders that I don't think I've seen before. I think what was there before this shoulder pads, perhaps some pirates obviously would put a parrot on there. Um,
Epaulettes.
Yes, of course, epaulette's quite nice, but yeah, it's some is what are those things that some shirts have where it's like almost a little strap on the top, and I don't know what it's meant to be for, but you could probably put a baguette in there or a poster or something.
Or a scroll.
Yes, yes, is that what they're for? I assume that's what they're for,
Yes,
carrying
I,
a
I
scroll.
believe I believe messengers would do that so they had their hands free to tickle.
Yes, I think that's exactly so that especially when they're delivering a bad news scroll, they go, "Here's some bad news," and it would just sort of cheer people up as they received it, which is
The cat's dead.
yes, I mean, which was a regular message in those days. Awful, but I mean, yeah, lovely. I think you can deliver bad news in a nice way if you've practiced like that.
I think so.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, but yeah, before you were, what I'm asking is, have you innovated shoulder fashion in a way that we've not known before?
Huh. Well, I think totally not having anything on your shoulders, and as you can see, as you said, I'm wearing the off the shoulder dress, but I've actually cut all the shoulders out of all my t-shirts.
Oh my goodness! I mean, that's phenomenal. But was this? Have you taken inspiration from somewhere, or is this just your? Did you think of this in a dream? Where's this? Because I just I mean maybe it's just because I'm an idiot, but I would never have thought of having a plasticine shoulder, and I'm just saying it's quite remarkable to hear about something like this.
Well, you see, what I was doing is I was just looking down at my shoulder, you see,
Hmm.
and I thought I've seen this before, and
Wow.
I didn't want that.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to
Yes.
look down at my shoulder and be surprised every time.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you will be, and Tom, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's not something I knew about until today, and I hope that listeners will hear this and maybe be inspired to replace their shoulders with plasticine, modelling clay, aluminium foil, whatever takes their fancy. It's
Yes, although if you do replace your shoulder with aluminium foil, I'm going to have to advise you not to get anyone to nibble it.
Oh yes. Yes, that would be horrendous. And I suppose going out in sunlight would essentially turn the rest of your arm into a baked potato.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Quite
think
dangerous.
that's probably quite dangerous. But if you wanted to wear something underneath the aluminium foil for temporary foiling, then you could just use it to blind people with reflections of the sun.
Yes, which would make it amazing. Yeah, it's sort of like a kind of defensive weapon on your shoulder there. It's creative and useful for day to day being attacked by monsters, I assume.
Yes, I mean, well, especially if they've got eyes.
Yes, yeah. It's always tricky with the not-eyed monsters, isn't it? The monsters without eyes, but
yes, huge ground worms.
Yes. I found that bad smells tended, which obviously you wouldn't know about. You don't fart, and you don't burp, but generally that seems to be quite a good way to ward them off.
Yes, but what about the armored mole men?
Yes, that's a good point, isn't it? Because they're not deterred by smells. They can't really see very well, but they can hear. So I find a really high pitched, sort of quite annoying noise, like that sort of tends to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to be safe, isn't it?
Always. You just have to be. You don't know when those armoured mole men will pop up from the ground and ruin your day. It happens quite often on the high street. So
coming at you with the little spears.
Oh, they're really, and I don't even know what they want. They've got that whole underground world. What do they want with I don't know. Normally they try and get my Tesco sandwiches, and I don't know what they want with them. It's ridiculous.
Oh dear.
Yeah, terrible.
But presumably they assume we're carrying loads of grubs and flies and ants.
Oh, do you know what? Now you say that, I think it might be because I say things like, "Oh, I've got some lovely grub for my lunch," and they have misinterpreted that as grubs for my lunch, which is a very different. I don't have grubs for lunch. They're very much a breakfast choice.
Yeah. You just sprinkle them over cereal, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. It's just a little topping. It's it's ridiculous. You'd have them as a main meal. It's silly. That won't be any good.
Oh, some people.
Some armoured mole men. Well, listen, Tom. As I said, it's lovely having you back. I've got a question that I've asked you back because it's great having you here. But obviously, there's a question that I know you can answer, and I don't think anyone else can. I'll be honest. But before we get there, we've got some admin. There's always admin on this podcast. We just have to get some of the bits out of the way to check, And the first of these, most importantly, I suppose, is that this is an audio podcast. And as I say every week, our listeners listen to this with their ears, sometimes with their bums, their elbows. We don't discriminate however they want to listen to it. But because it's audio only, not only is it acceptable for armoured mole men, I suppose, maybe that's why they keep popping up and ruining my day. Anyway, but not only is it acceptable for them, I just wondered if you had a favourite noise that you could give us to delight people's ears.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's a lovely noise.
Yeah,
it's a lovely noise.
That's the noise I make right before I sprinkle some grubs on cereal.
So it's oh wow! So I misinterpreted. I thought that was a chewing or eating something really tasty, but this is a preemptive.
Yeah, that's just getting my mouth ready to chew.
Right, like a mouth warm up.
Little warm up. Yeah. You don't want to sprain a lip.
No. Is that? Do we? I've never really done a mouth warm up before eating. Am I making a terrible error then? Is it? Can you get injuries?
You might just be naturally pretty lithe in your mouth area, but as you get older, I think you might need to do a little bit of a just to make sure.
That's really good. That's really good advice. I don't know if our listeners will have done that before either. And so a little bit of a, and then you tuck in, and it's just the food probably becomes a lot better.
Incidentally, that phrase is named after me.
What? Sorry, what phrase?
Tuck in.
Oh my goodness, is it? So,
Yes. It used to be Thomas Tuck in, and then it just got
Yes.
shortened.
That's amazing. So is that how, what led to that? Was it because, you know, if you were in, people knew that they'd get a tasty meal, or was it that you would eat in a specific way?
It was, I would shout it every time, in between the mouth warm up and eating. I
Right.
would go, Thomas, tuck in! And I would be declaring that I was going into the food. And I would only do it generally when I was alone. But then one day, there was someone peeking around the corner and they heard this and thought, I'm nicking that. And it spread across the world.
Wow. I mean, that's fascinating. Is there a, could I ask, did you used to do one at the end of the meal? Did you say tuck out? Like, as a
Yes,
sort of
yes.
it? Yeah.
But by then, the person had run away to spread the news and didn't hear that.
Oh my gosh.
And so
it must be very frustrating for you then that you hear lots of people starting their meals, but nobody's finishing them. It's like sort of open bracket with no close bracket.
Yeah. I mean, it uses podcast now to spread the word. So
Yes.
how it goes is, Thomas, tuck in, start eating, nom 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 nom.
Mm-hmm.
Then Thomas, tuck out, and then if you want to do, you can do a quick lip cool down.
That's lovely. I mean, that's lovely and very helpful if you are in a restaurant or a sort of public eating place, and then they know you finished.
You don't have to wait for a waiter to come round and go, are you done with that, sir? You can just go, tuck out, and stare around the room.
Yes, I like that. I mean, that's, again, you know, much like with the graceful sneezing and the handkerchief, this is a much more economical way of getting eating done. It's a lot safer, I think. And no doubt will save a lot of people time and possible lip injuries in the future. So very useful.
I'm almost certain.
You're an incredibly useful man, Tom. You know, really appreciate it. And the other question I have to ask you, of course, is this is a family-friendly podcast. It's suitable for any age you can imagine. Can you imagine an age?
9.5.
Yeah, absolutely 9.5. Absolutely, yeah. Suitable for any age you can imagine, except 100. Long story, but every other age, absolutely fine for. And because of that, I just wanted to check if there were any rude words that you won't be saying on this show to make sure it stays safe.
Oh, that's a good point. There's 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say goblin. I'm not going to say flibberty gibbet.
Oh no, goodness.
Or flapjack.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's quite. I mean, that's quite the triple there. I just double check. Goblin, 100%. Though the trouble we'd be in. Flibberty gibbet. Flibberty gibbet. Is that just the singular or the plural? Is the plural flibberty gibbets?
I mean, you'd be in real trouble if there were more than one in the room.
Right. Sure.
But they usually only come by on their own. Flibberty gibbets.
Yes. That's yes. So.
Oh, I think I might have said it then.
Yes, but you're explaining it, and therefore if the listeners don't know what words you're not going to say, then how on earth would they be able to tell that you haven't said it? And that's a very important thing.
Yeah.
To establish. Gotcha. And similarly, I just want to check flapjacks. Obviously, horrendous word, and we definitely would. I wouldn't want to see it anywhere near the show. Actually, I wouldn't want to see it in a 300-meter vicinity of this podcast. However, I should say, just for the record, that other kind of oaty, lovely biscuit sort of snacks are absolutely fine.
Yeah, I might say tray bake.
That's who wouldn't love you to say tray bake? Frankly, if
tray
that's
bake.
all you said, that's the only word you said for the rest of the show. I think people would 5-star reviews everywhere.
Oh, yes, of course.
You know, it's a big. I'm sure there's podcasts out there that are simply the word tray bake for 2 or 3 hours.
What about flat bake and tray jack?
That's tricky. That's really tricky, actually. I think that's one of those words that sounds like it's going to be rude, and it's only just not. So it's sort of all right because, like, grown-ups listening will get a bit of a laugh, going, "Oh, it's going to be rude," but it's not. And the younger people listening will not realise.
Like bun.
Yes, exactly like bun. Absolutely fine because you haven't said bum, but you nearly said bum. So it's.
I'm going to put some icing on my bun.
Yes. Yeah. Sneaky. I mean, well, so I think just say if you want to say Trey Jack, do maybe be careful as and when, but it'll be fine. Well, thank you for not saying especially not saying goblin, flimsy gibbet, or indeed flapjack, and I certainly won't say any of those words either. Thank you, Tom.
No worries.
Right. The big question. This is a big. I mean, look, I've called you in. I've called in the big guns because this is a big question for you, Tom. And as I said, I think you can do this. But this is from Theo, aged 6. It doesn't say 6 what. We assume years. Could be minutes. Could be horses. We don't know. But Theo, aged 6, has asked, and I'll try and read this in the style that it's written. Who let the dogs out? Woof, 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 woof. Who let the dogs out? Woof, woof, woof. Who let the dogs out anyway? Question mark, 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 question mark for about 30 question marks.
30 question marks. Can you just explain to me how many woofs there were there? Because I think that's important.
Yes, well, first off, there are 4 woofs, and they're all in capital letters, so I think they're woof, 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 woof. And then in the second round, Who Let the Dogs Out, it says woof, woo, in capital letters, then it goes f, small f, whoa, capital W-O, and then small of, woof, and then a small woof. So 8 altogether, but they vary in size and I presume volume.
Yes, well, that's because there have been a number of people letting the dogs out.
Right.
And I think that's a coded message from Theo. He knows that 8 different people have been letting the dogs out. Now, I say people. One of them is dogs themselves.
What?
Yes, some dogs have got clever enough to let themselves out. Now, not all doors, but some patio doors.
Wow.
Some back doors.
Yeah.
And some shed doors.
Right.
Some dogs have learned how to let themselves out of them.
Goodness me.
They haven't learned yet how to use keys.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But if it is an unlocked door, German Shepherds, Labradors, Collies, and this is surprising, Chihuahuas
Wow.
have all been letting themselves out. Now, obviously, the Chihuahuas have to work together.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you've just got one Chihuahua, I mean, you're fine. If you've got 3 Chihuahuas, they stand on top of each other, and the top one bites the handle. Then the bottom one walks up backwards if it's a door that opens that way, or walks forwards if it's a door that opens that way. And the middle Chihuahua is very important because he's got to make sure the top one doesn't fall and the bottom one doesn't get crushed.
Wow. I mean, it's incredibly... That's remarkable they've worked this out. And I suppose...
Well, they've been watching us, you see.
Right.
They've been watching us with their beady little eyes going, how do they open that door? That's what Chihuahuas sound like in their head. How did they open that door?
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds. I mean, I've got a number of questions that I feel we need to clarify. Firstly, is just the dog types that you specified. So pugs, for example, cannot open doors.
That from what I've heard, pugs really aren't any good at teamwork.
Sure. I assume they just roll over and fall about all the time.
Yes. They have been known to snuffle at doors, but this hasn't worked.
Sure. Right. Okay.
And they haven't got yet been able to use Alexa or Google to open doors, although they have been listening to podcasts.
Oh no! Have they?
Yes.
That could be very dangerous. Maybe we should put a warning at the top of this week's show that it's not for pugs, and hopefully they'll be dissuaded from hearing how other dogs work together. Otherwise, that could prove quite dangerous. I mean, there's again a couple of questions, but I suppose the first we should come to is some of these. Some of the people letting dogs out are in fact dogs letting themselves out.
Yes.
Who are the others? Who else is doing it?
Well, this is It's difficult to say.
Hmm.
But there's a man called Alan going round letting dogs out.
Right.
I don't know his surname because he wears a mask and we haven't been able to identify him. But he just goes, Alan's here, and opens doors.
Oh no.
Now, the thing is, he has learned how to use keys, and he's got a key that opens every door in the world.
Wow, I mean, that's quite worrying. I mean, I suppose Santa Claus obviously. Oh no, Santa Claus goes in chimneys, doesn't he? So slightly different method, but similar. Except instead of bringing you presents, Alan just lets your dogs out.
Yeah, and I think we just got to be grateful. That's all he wants to do. He could come in and nick your washing.
Yes, he could. He could steal your sandwich. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And we don't know any of his motives for letting dogs out.
I think he just likes seeing dogs out.
Wow.
I don't know if have you ever seen a dog out?
I'm just trying to think if I have.
Have you ever seen a dog in?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But have you ever seen someone say to a dog, "Do you want to go out?" They often get very excited.
Yes.
So we can assume that dogs are happier when they're out. And Alan just wants to bring happiness to dogs. That's my best theory.
Wow. Well, in which case, then perhaps Alan is a very nice man. Because, I mean, that's one of the other questions I want to ask you. Is it a bad thing for dogs to be let out? Because if they like going out, and sometimes they might not want to be in. So, I would suggest maybe dogs letting themselves out, and indeed Alan letting dogs out, is just a good thing for dogs.
It could be a good thing for dogs for short amounts of time. Because dogs cannot farm, cannot use supermarkets, and aren't very good at finding other food.
Right.
So they have to come in if they want to get dinner.
Right. But if they've watched and learned how to open doors, I mean, only certain types of dogs, could they not watch and learn how to, pop to the supermarket and get a meal deal?
Well, that's the thing. They're always left outside the supermarket, aren't they? They're not allowed in. So the only dogs that could conceivably figure out how to buy a meal deal are guide dogs.
Right. Yes. And that's also why they're known as guide, not only because they guide people with sort of visual impairments, but also because they
go, oh no, don't get that one. Get a chicken and bacon.
Yes, they're very useful. So are we suggesting then that perhaps someone is letting the dogs out, it's Alan, or indeed other dogs, but really the best way for this to work would be for then someone to let the dogs in once they've been out, so they can learn things about being out, so that it's safer for them to be out, so they can then come back in again when they need to.
Who let the dogs out? Woof, 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 woof. But who's going to let the dogs in? Foo, 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 foo.
That's a more powerful question, I think. And I don't know who will. Do you think Alan's got any interest in it?
From what we've seen, no.
Wow.
Oh,
go. Sorry.
Well, I'm just saying that on the CCTV footage I've seen, he opens the door, says woof, 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 woof. The dogs come out, and then he moves on to the next house.
Sure. So no sort of sticking around to clean up, what he's done, which is very careless of him. Is it something you'd be interested in? Are you planning to maybe let dogs in?
I could be persuaded, but it would have to be for a large fee.
Yes, that makes sense.
I want at least £3 a day.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think that. I mean, it's a big job. There's a lot of dogs, and obviously a lot of them are being let out. So you'd really have your hands tied, which would of course then make it harder, and you probably need to be paid even more. Is it so? So can we not? Can we teach dogs to let themselves in? Is that a way around this?
Yes, I mean it would mean you would have to never lock your doors.
Yeah.
And every person who had one chihuahua would have to buy an additional 2 chihuahuas.
Sure.
And you'd have to team up every other breed of dog with one of the aforementioned German Shepherds, Labradors, or Collies.
Yeah, so it's getting quite.
But maybe over time they could learn as well. The other ones.
Yes,
But I'm having trouble imagining a bulldog opening a door.
Hang on, I'm just having a little think about it. It's funny because I can't imagine a bulldog opening a door, and then I imagine a bulldog in a hat, and he can open a door really well.
Does he have a waistcoat?
Yes, he does. Yes.
Well, I reckon that he's just got the authority to get other people to open doors for him.
Yes, that could be it. Yes, it's all about appearance, isn't it? Yeah. That makes it. Well, that makes perfect sense. And I should also say that earlier you said obviously for dogs to let themselves in, we'd have to unlock all our doors. But Alan can get in everywhere anyway, so I suppose there's not much point in us having locked doors.
I suppose, yes. It's just that Alan can't be everywhere all at once.
Yes, it's a very complex problem, and I think that what Theo's highlighted here is it's not something that's brought up often enough. I don't see it in the newspapers. I don't see politicians addressing this. It's a big issue, because not only do dogs want to go out, people are letting them out, and dogs are letting themselves out, but dogs also need to come back in, and dogs need to learn. You need to teach old dogs new tricks, and in fact, new dogs old tricks.
Well, in fact, that explains the other 6 types of people who've been letting dogs out.
Right. Oh, there are 6. Oh my goodness, I didn't even realise. Right.
Yes. There are 6 different skateboard manufacturers, and they are trying to teach dogs how to skateboard.
Wow.
Because I don't know if you've ever seen a dog on a skateboard on a YouTube video.
Do you know what I have? Yes.
It's one of the most exciting things ever.
Yes, it is. It's incredible. Yeah.
All the skateboard manufacturers want to be the skateboard manufacturer who's most associated with dog skateboarding, so they can do a YouTube video and drive sales of skateboards through the roof.
Wow. And of course, if you got one Chihuahua, but you've only got one, you need to buy 2 more Chihuahuas. That's 3 skateboards right there.
3 skateboards right there.
Yeah. I'm assuming that Chihuahuas skate on their individual skateboards. They don't all stand on each other's heads on one skateboard.
Well, if they've been practicing letting themselves out, then perhaps they could do that.
Yes, yeah, but otherwise it becomes quite expensive. I mean, wow. So
and of course, the skateboard manufacturers haven't been letting dogs out through the door.
Sorry, what? Where have they been?
Well, they've been smashing windows with skateboards and letting the dogs out through the windows.
That's horrendous. That's terrible. That's really terrible.
It's really criminal damage.
It is criminal. You think, why aren't they just getting in touch with Alan? Because surely they've got similar, objectives. Alan could work with these skateboard manufacturers, probably make a nice little learning for himself there. He could let the dogs out. The skateboard manufacturers, they're ready with a board and a camera. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like the perfect solution. But no one's been able to contact Alan.
Alan, well, listen, if Alan, if you're listening to this podcast, contact us. I don't know the skateboard manufacturers in question because obviously I had to wait until Theo even asked the question for me to know it was an issue. But I'm sure that were Alan to get in contact with this show, we could find a way to reach out and maybe tie up some of these loose ends. I think it's important.
What, their tails?
No, but then can you imagine? I suppose you could have quite a few on a skateboard if you tied them all. Or would you have each on different skateboards and they'd never really be able to travel any? Wow, it'd be like a sort of chariot.
Oh, I think you'd probably have to go with rollerblades in that situation.
Yes, that's true, isn't it? And then, and I don't want to put ideas into rollerblade manufacturers' heads, otherwise there'd be at least 4 or 5 more woofs adding to the issue as they let them out as well. Tom, I'm gonna say you've blown my mind. I wasn't expecting. I knew this was a big question. I didn't know it was as big. And
I can't believe that the news hasn't been talking about it.
I can't believe it either. It should be everywhere. It should be absolutely everywhere. Not least if you are indeed a dog owner, or indeed a dog, or indeed Alan. Why aren't you talking about it? But it's Theo that's asked this, and obviously Theo recognises that it's something that people need to know about. And thanks Theo, appreciate that. So, wow. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for answering such a big question.
Thank you.
Have you got a busy day, week, year, decade ahead?
Yes, very busy decade. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got lots of eating to do.
Yes, of course.
Lots of warming up before the eating.
Of course.
Lots of cooking before the warming up before the eating, and then lots of cooling down after the eating.
That's going to take up a lot of time, and no wonder you can't be letting dogs in. Yeah, I don't know where you'd fit that into your day.
I suppose I'd have to get takeout.
Yes, actually, very good idea. And then Alan could probably bring it in for you.
Hang on, I think someone's opened my door.
What?
We don't even have a dog.
Oh my goodness!
Alan, why are you doing this?
Today I learned why we say blowing a raspberry when we do this.
Whoa, thanks to Thom Tuck for that, although that was a very dramatic end there, wasn't it? We found Alan! Or did Alan find Tom? And did he let Tom's dogs out? Did Tom even have dogs? Well, look, we just don't know. But Theo, I do hope you enjoyed your answer, and if you didn't, why not give your answer to a dog that's been let out, and then it'll probably bury it somewhere, and I'll never have to read it. If you have a question you need answering, any intros or outros you'd like me to say on this show, any made-up jokes you'd like to send in, or anything at all in the universe that you want to tell me, then do get your fusty goofus palookas, grown-ups, to help you email us on podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. You can also check out our live shows. We've got quite a few of those coming up all over December, all around the UK, and you can find those at comedyclubforkids.co.uk, and you can grab our merch, including Stinky Hippos t-shirts, which obviously don't contain any of the real Stinky Hippos, even though it helped me clear out the fridge, but it is too cruel. We couldn't do that. Those are all at comedyclubforkids.store and ship worldwide, but not universe-wide. So sorry again, aliens. Now, listen, I've been practicing, and check out my raspberry blowing now. Yeah, I'm very proud of myself. These raspberries could become the new global musical instrument of our time. I'll just pop this raspberry down here. Hello? I came as soon as I could. Philharmonic, it's nice to see you. Come in. Thank you. I came as soon as I heard your message. Where are these raspberries? Quick, I must hear them. Phil! No, slow down, Phil! Oh, Phil, you just trod on all my raspberries. Oh, raspberries. But perhaps percussion, maybe. Wow, Phil! Let our orchestra begin! Go raspberries! Right, I'm off to compose some amazing raspberry music. I'll see you all next week. Go raspberries! Bye!